So in East Central Missouri, row crop producers had a little bit of a challenge this year. We were blessed with a little above normal rains in some areas. North part of the state, maybe not so much as they would like, but these soybeans behind me, planted in mid-March. We had soybeans planted in later in April.
What has happened in southern Missouri isn't necessarily what's happened in northern Missouri. We're looking here at the last 90 days, and here across southern Missouri, we've seen 10 to 15 inches above normal. 10 to 15 inches above normal. I mean, I think that that's a pretty telling number right there. Meanwhile, areas north of I-70, rainfall has been roughly around 1 to 6 inches below normal. So you've got a lot of soil moisture, and when it gets hot like this, different things are happening. I mean, the sun is baking the soil, and that's causing moisture to evaporate into the air. That can help to boost humidity levels. But you also have transpiration. So you have trees and you have plants which are pulling that moisture out of the soil and then releasing it into the atmosphere, and you can get higher humidity levels as a result of that. You'll see that especially where you have a lot of cornfields.
Corn is doing well with nitrogen management, with high levels of water. Rain can be a little bit of a challenge, so we're having to monitor corn for signs of nitrogen stress. This may very well be the year that top dressing with nitrogen is going to pay some of the bigger dividends. I would advise producers to take a look at their crop health and consider some supplemental nitrogen. We've got sufficient moisture. Corn is growing. The heat units are here. Corn likes those heat units. So we're seeing rapid growth, rapid development of the plant. So if we can just maintain, often the water turns off like a spigot for us. And so for now, we're doing well. We can keep the rains coming, and the heat is here, keep the fertility in the soil. Should be a very nice corn crop. Wheat harvest is underway now, and wheat is looking really good in this part of the state. We had some of those, I call them European style rains, where we would get moisture on a pretty regular basis, and wheat seems to respond well to that. I'm hearing reports for wheat yields from 100 to 130 bushels. I talked to one producer this morning from central Missouri who's 144 bushel wheat, and that is fantastic wheat yield. So the high temps that came in really helped push the dry down of the wheat, and so it has facilitated harvest. In this area, the majority of the wheat is out. Double crop beans are being planted. And with this oncoming rain, it looks like to be a pretty good combination. We're going to take a very good wheat yield off, and the table is set for a good bean crop yield after it.
So now the question is, where do we go from here? Is this going to be a hot, dry summer? I think that there have been some forecasts of that. When we're putting together seasonal forecasts, we'll use modeling, but we'll also use analogs. So what we can look at are certain indices around the world, and using that information, you get kind of a baseline as to what is the state of our atmosphere right now at this point in the year. And then if you can find other years in the past that had similar baselines, then it can tell you where you might go for that season. It doesn't always work out, but a lot of times it'll at least give you clues. And I think that this past spring is very reminiscent of the spring of 2017. A lot of the same conditions that were present around the globe and also locally seem to be present this year. So I'm using 2017 as kind of the playbook as to how this summer will unfold. And I think that in the end, when you look at June, July, August in their totality, I think you're going to find that temperatures are going to tend to run at or below normal for the summer, and that precipitation should be near to maybe even slightly above normal. So I don't think that this is going to be a brutally hot, brutally dry summer.
Farmers are eternal optimists. We put the seed in the ground not knowing what the weather's going to do, but so far so good. It does look promising for a good crop year. The weather can change. We'll deal with it as it comes, but for today, I think we're in a pretty solid position. I would remind producers that with the excessive rains, herbicide activity, pay attention to that. stay focused on corn, primarily nitrogen. So let's keep our eye on plant health and see what sort of response we can get from that. Fungicides may play an even bigger role this year as we have currently our warm and humid weather. That's going to trigger us for one set of plant pathogens. But tar spot, that's on everyone's mind. Tar spot favors cooler weather. So as we have humid conditions and cooler weather, start looking for signs of tar spot. So scouting our fields for weed escapes, for disease presence, could pay big dividends to have that information early.